Hello boys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be ranking every Premier League team season so far. This will be coming out and it's being filmed on the Saturday, the 20th of April. So I'm just putting that out there in case, because with how tight it is up there, the results could change anything. I do want to say before the video starts, the FIFA videos will be coming back for Team of the Season. It's just I had some technical issues that I had to sort out, so I had to order some stuff and equipment, but it'll all be sorted. So yeah, we'll get in, without further ado, we'll get into this video. As you can see, Sheffield United have their own tier because, well, let's be honest, lads, they're actually an embarrassment. We can look at the table. We don't need to. They're 20th. They're losing 2-0. I am doing this during the 3 o'clock kickoffs. They're on 16 points. I mean, they've lost 8-0, 5. They've just to Newcastle, and they've lost. I think they lost 5-0 to Arsenal, or 6-0. They're just embarrassing, lads. Get them down. I personally would relegate them to League One. They're that much of a joke. They're just, honestly, compared to the team they were a couple years ago in the Prem when they were on for Champions League. I don't know what happened to them, but I don't know. I think it highlights the difference between the Championship and the Prem at the moment. There's such a big gap, but yeah, that they've got their own tier, lads, because they are shit. We'll carry on. We've got Luton. Honestly, right? Just hear me out here, lads. I'm gonna put them in B. And that may sound mental, right? But in my opinion, B is on target, right? Is B too high? I should probably go C. We're going to stick with B. So what I think about Luton, right, is everyone had them rock bottom. Everyone thought they'd have a Sheffield United season. They didn't invest enough. I think they lost a couple players. And they just didn't really, but apart from Barkley and a couple old Premier League players like Townsend. But yeah, everyone had them going down. And I think the fact that they've actually given themselves a chance at staying up deserves a lot more merit than it's getting. And I would actually have them in B because I think B is like I said, on par. And I think, people had them, C would be below par, and everyone had them going straight down. So I think the fact they've even got a chance, and they've had some banging games. Honestly, one of the most entertaining teams in the league. They drew to Liverpool, my team. They were beating City. They had a great game against Arsenal. Newcastle, I think they drew 4-4. They've had some worldy games. So I like Luton. I kind of hope they stay up. And next we got my team, Liverpool. Right. Personally, and don't shoot me here, because I know we've had a bit of a we fell apart a bit in the last month. I'm not going to lie. But I would put us in A. Let me explain. B, like I said, I've explained what B is. So A is above target. Everyone had us. You go back, all the professionals, the pundits, all the podcasters, 4,000 of them now. They all had us come in 4th, maybe if not 5th. The fact we're in a title race, and won a Carabao Cup, no one expected us to be where we are. So I think personally, it's an A season for us because this was only meant to be a transition season. We literally fixed our midfield in one window, and we've had players like Endo come in. We obviously missed out on Caicedo and Lavia, and we've gone on. And we probably won't win the title. Who knows? I think there's still one more twist. But I think the fact that we're in a title race alone is very impressive. And I think it's an A season for us because our standards weren't very high after last season. Right, Everton. Let's just if you want me to be totally honest, I'd have them in B. Is it a B though? Right, I'm sorry, Luton. I take it back. I'm moving you down to C. No, I'm putting Everton in C as well. I think Luton have had a better. No, we'll go Luton because they've gone more above expectations than Everton. The reason I'd have Everton in C is because, yes, they're in a relegation scrap. But first of all, I think everyone expected them to be in relegation scrap. And second of all, with all the point deductions they've had, to still be in a very good chance of staying up is quite impressive, I think. And I know they lost 6-0 to Chelsea the other week, and that was quite bad. But I, all in all, think it's not an awful season. I don't think Dyche has done a bad job. If they had all these point deductions last season, they'd have gone down comfortably. So I think you've got to give credit where credit's due. Even as much as I hate Everton, I think you've got to respect it. And I think a C is fair. And oh, Chelsea. Christ. Well, I'm sorry. Where are they? 9th. Wait, hold on a minute. I didn't know Chelsea were cooking up a storm. Do you know what? We'll go see. So, right, Chelsea. We all thought after all their signings, they would, be a lot better than last season. I think they came 8th or 10th last season. It was something like that. And the fact that, I thought they were 12th. The fact they're 9th, I mean, they've been alright a bit recently, beating Everton in the United game, but I think for £1 billion spent, all the signings they've made, and the fact they're ninth, mid-table, below like West Ham, who've been moised out all their fans, I think it has to be a C. Is it a D? No, it's a D. It's a D, lads. I'm sorry, it's a D. You got to look at the expectations of the teams, and Chelsea are expected to challenge for at least like top 5, we're not going to get the 5th spot, but you know what I mean. They're expected to be up there. It's Chelsea we're talking about here. But, I mean, without Palmer, they'd probably be in a relegation scrap. And the fact Palmer was a bit of a late panic signing says enough. Right, Burnley. Do you know what? I want to talk about Burnley for a bit. We're going to put them in Sheffield United. Although, they are currently beating Luton. Is it Luton? No, they're beating Sheffield United, sorry. I think that, you know, company came in, he ruined all the Dyche ball, which we love Dyche ball. Football heritage, mate. 4-4-2, oof ball. We loved it. He got all these tiki-taka players. He destroyed the championship after spending a good amount of money. They made all the signings that you saw on their bloody social media page with all those videos. And then the fact that they've, like, I mean, company's not got any flack after, like, constantly just losing and losing. I mean, he's being talked about, like, so little. Like, how's he not had more, like, stick off the media? He's had a shocking season. He's trying to be one of Pep's little disciples, and he's stunk the gaff up. So, I think that Burnley are shocking, and they should go down and bring back Dyche ball. That's my opinion. Right, Man United. Personally, is it another D? Is that harsh? You know what, actually, taking everything into consideration, I think it is a D. Now, let me explain. So, I know it's a Premier League tier list, but if we're looking in competitions, yes, they beat us in the FA Cup, blah, blah, piss off United fans. But I think the Champions League was an embarrassment. I know Onana was a bit, funny. But the fact you came bottom of that group, like, you didn't even get to the Europa League, bottom was an embarrassment. And then, let's be honest, yes, they're, 7th? And they've been semi-alright in some games. But most games, they're getting dominated by everyone. And then, like, they just get these lucky wins. Realistically, if, like, after some of the ways they've played, they deserve to probably be, like, 13th or 14th. But, honestly, I don't know how they're 7th. But I think, like, everyone had them, like, so a lot of people had them as title challengers after last season. The fact they came top 4 and won a Carabao Cup, and now they're 7th and they're out of everything apart from the FA Cup, which they won't win anyway, because up the Coventry. I think, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, they're lucky enough to be 7th, in my opinion, in the league. Crystal Palace, well, I'd have them in C. Palace just is mid-tier. Do you know what? That mid-tier, I'm even going to rename this tier Crystal Palace. Because Palace just are middle of the road every season, 11th. They should just be called 11th FC. Like, they're just there every season, aren't they? I mean, actually, where are they in the league? I mean, they are 15th, actually. But I'd still have the middle of the road because they're just there. They're always meant to stay up. They're never going to go down. They're just always in the middle. Just a bit irrelevant. It's like a sprout on a roast. You sort of just push it to the side, don't you? But, you know, I mean, Palace is just... They're just there. They're not really relevant. But we'll move on from then. Next up, we got the Villa. Right. Guess in A, my son. Do you know what? I'd have them above Liverpool. Do you want to move, mate? Thank you. Right. The reason I'd have Villa above Liverpool... and the best team so far is, lads, like, they're in for top 4. They should be, like, you know, mid-table they were expected to be. And they just came off the back of beating Arsenal. They beat them. I think they beat Arsenal twice. Yeah, they won 1-0 at their ground. And Arsenal's ground, they won 2-0. And then, was it 2-0? I can't even remember. But they beat them. And then, you had, it was 2-0. And then they beat City at their ground as well. We've still got to play them at Villa Park, which I'm not looking forward to. But I think, like, challenging for top 4, Emery's just had a masterclass, isn't he? He always manages to, like, get some strikers just cooking. Like, he had Moreno at Villarreal, and then he's had Watkins at Villa going off. And I think he's just done a great job. Like, lads, Gerrard had near enough the same team, and he had them in a relegation scrap. So you got to give credit where credit's due. And I think, you know, it is an A season from Villa. The fact they're even going to get Europa League possibly, and he's also just gone to a semi-final of the Conference League. When you got Emi Martinez and goal for penalties, you might as well not take the penalties, to be honest with you. But you know, I think it's fair. And then next up we got Man City. Right, this is going to be controversial. I'm putting them in B. First of all, they're out of the Champions League. Yes, they should have won, and possession. But possession doesn't mean everything in football, lads. You got to perform and you got to score goals. If you actually look back at that Madrid City game, the City Madrid game at the Etihad, how many chances did they actually have? Apart from De Bruyne's clear-cut one, I don't really recall any great chances. I thought it was a 50-50, and at the end of the day, the experience came into it. And I'm sorry Bernardo Silva missed that penalty. You little Portuguese twat, have that. Sorry, I really hate that man. But yeah, I think, realistically, B is like where you're expected. B is like a season that people expected you to have. And realistically, people expected them to be top, which they are now. But they expected it to be quite comfortable with the team they've got and the charges and the billions of pounds they've spent. And the fact they're out the Champions League and they didn't win the Carabao Cup like usual. And, well, they got the FA Cup left, which they'll probably win. But honestly, lads, I never thought I'd say there's a good chance that City might go trophyless. I mean, I think they'll win the Premier and the FA Cup, but you don't know. Coventry might have a surprise for us. Carrying on, we've got Wolves. Right, it's an A again. No, it's not, sorry. Is it? Nah, it's got to be an A from Wolves, lads. Lads, they were expected to go down at the start of the season. Do you remember when they go to their manager and they had to sell money and they couldn't make any signings? Everyone had them going, like, down. The fact they're 11th, and they were in, like, the top 8. I mean, they've gone off a bit of a funny form now. Pedro Neto's out. But, come on, like, I had them rock bottom, I think. They were not expected to do anything in this season. And Gary O'Neill, everyone was like, oh, well, it was lucky at Bournemouth. Look at their expected goals created and how many they scored. Yeah, well, no. He's done a really good job. And he's also done the likes of beat City at home. He beat Tottenham at home. I mean, you got to give him credit where credit's due. The man's a good manager, and he's going to do Arsenal later, I hope. Next up, we've got Brentford. Right. I think Brentford's just in the mid-tier, to be honest. The reason I'd put Brentford in the middle is because, well, I just think, like, obviously they're in a bit of a relegation scrap, sort of. Oh, no, they'll win, they're not now. But I think, to be fair, the game's in hand, but I think the fact they've dealt without Ivan Toney is quite impressive. I mean, I know other players have stepped up. They've also had Mbermo out with injury, and they lost Raya as well. So I think you take all that into consideration, it's a decent season from them. We'll move on. We've got Nottingham Forest, who... it's a D, I think. Because I think with all the signings they made, which they're now getting financial charges for in FFP, but City will get away with it, but we'll save that for another video. I think that you've got to give it to them. They've not had a good season for their expectations. They're in a relegation scrap. Any more point stocks, then they'll probably be down. And yeah, I just think it's a poor season if you ask me. Sorry about the camera showing, by the way. I just knocked my knee. Bournemouth's, I think, is it an A or a B? Because it's above expectations, isn't it? Hold on, I'm going to put it in A and look where they're sitting. 13th. I'm going to go B. I know a lot of people had them going down, and the people weren't expecting a lot from them. But I think I don't think they won in their first 8 games. But after that, the manager's just cooked. They've had some great results. They've been playing really good football at home. They had some famous results like beating United 3-0 away from home. I mean, that's not impressive though, is it? Even though we can do it, so don't get at me, United fans. But I think it's a good season from them. I think the manager's done well, and I think it was actually a good decision in the end to go with O'Neill. Although I like O'Neill as a manager, I think Iraola has done a really good job at Bournemouth. So, we got Fulham next, who are sat in 12th. I think it's just middle of the road, isn't it? I mean, they've had some really good results recently, and I'm a bit worried for tomorrow when we got Fulham away. I don't think we're going to win there. We haven't actually won there since 2019, but I think it's a good season from them. They've really picked up in sort of 2024. They weren't great last year. They also beat Arsenal and drew to Arsenal, so they won 4 points out of 6 from Arsenal. That's also good. And I just think it's middle of the road for Fulham again. They've stayed up, which is their target. Well, I think they will anyway. So I've never realised, by the way. I always thought this was random drawing. It actually says FFC, Fulham Football Club. It's quite cool, isn't it? I'm sorry. Right, Arsenal. Don't shoot me. B. So, I think they're going to fall off. I think they're going to lose to Wolves tonight. And I think they might end up third. And although I think we might lose tomorrow, but we'll get into that another day. But they're out of all the competitions, aren't they? They didn't win the Carabao Cup. They're out of the FA Cup. They're out of the Champions League, embarrassingly, in the worst buying team in 12 years. Champions League journey to be proud of, lads. You beat, you lost to Lens, you beat Sevilla, and you drew to final, was it? And then you scrape past Porto and celebrate like you won the thing. You bunch of embarrassing clowns. I'd have you in B because it's where you expected to be, I'd say. Although even then, I think you should be top really for the expectations. And I also think you should have had a better run in the Champions League and the cup competitions. You had a shocker in. Obviously, we beat them in the FA Cup, and I can't remember who they went out to the Carabao Cup to. It might have been West Ham. I'm not sure, but I'd have them in B because I think these two are expected to be in a title race, and they are, and they've not done great in cup competitions. Next up is Brighton. It's been a funny old season for Brighton. I'd also have them in C because, well, they're 10th, which is middle of the road. Why has it gone in D? I'd have them in C because it's 10th, and I just think, although they've had some really bad results, like they got hammered off Villa and some other not great results, they've still had decent results. And at the end of the day, lads, yes, they got Europa League last year, but it's Brighton. I mean, you can't expect a lot from them, and I think C is a fair representation of their season. Next up, we got West Ham. West Ham is a weird one, you know. I'd have them in B, but people have been having like Moyes out and stuff. He's had some great results. I've done it again. He's beat United. I think they beat Arsenal. You know, to have Moyes out is a bit. It's harsh, you know, because they've top 8 West Ham fans. Remember who you are. You're not that good of a club. Yeah, we're massive. You're a decent sized club, but you know, and I know they've just gone out to Leverkusen, but that's understandable. And I just think, I don't think it's more than a B. I don't think it's less than a B, because they expected to be top 8, really. West Ham, remember who you are. And they'd also lost Rice. And then they also made some really good signings. Kudus, what a player he is. Alvarez, I don't mind as well. And Ward-Prowse, although he's got a bit off the boil recently. So yeah, I'd have West Ham in B. And then next up, we got Tottenham. I think Tottenham is... I'd have it like in between a B and an A. I'm going to say... Really think about it. I'm going to go A. Right, don't shoot the messenger. They're in a top 4 race. Let's be honest, lads. When they lost Harry Kane, we all said they're coming top like 10th. They've played some great football, and although they've had some dodgy results, like Fulham, I think they've really done a lot better than people expected, and that's what you got to look at when ranking teams. So I think putting them in A is a fair representation, because who expected Tottenham to be in a top 4 race? Not me, no one. After they lost Harry Kane as well, bear in mind. And I mean, they also dealt with Maddison injuries, Van der Ven, I think Romero's had suspensions every other week. So I don't think it's a bad season. And to end the tier list, we've got Newcastle, who are currently sat in 6th, which I'm gonna put them in C. Is that harsh? Right, let me explain. So they shocking Champions League run, although they could have gone through without the PSG robbery. But I also think, with all the injuries they've had, because bear in mind, if Lewis Bowden, if you're watching this, I do agree with a lot of the stuff you say, to be fair to you, mate. You've had a lot of injuries, and I think, considering that, the fact you're still could get into Europa League is quite a good season. I mean, players are starting to come back now, but did we expect them to do better? I'd say so, but I don't think it's that harsh that you can say it as a bad season. I think middle of the road is fair, so that's what I'll go with. So that is my tier list, lads. It's quite a nice split. I mean, you can look through it all now. That's the tier list. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed, boys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And please like and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next video.